Cool. Let's introduce each other, I guess. It's not really on the agenda, but or how should we do this? Before we start, everyone, our new member is Braden Young. Hello, Braden.
Good to meet everybody. How's it going? Excited to be here. This is my first meeting, so excited to learn lots from you.
So we have, does everyone want to introduce themselves? We'll start with Phyllis. Oh, Gil.
You have to unmute. Phyllis, unmute yourself.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, I'm Phyllis. I've been on the committee since the beginning, starting with Measure C and D. The reason I'm on the committee, and I felt a need to be, is that I've been with the Friends of the San Rafael Public Library for over 20 years, and I've been their treasurer. And so it's important for Friends to know that this money is going where it should be. So that's about it. I'm retired. I used to work, but I mean, I do still kind of work.
Absolutely. Good to meet you, Phyllis.
So should we go to Greg?
Yeah, my name's Greg Kellogg. I guess I've been a member since the beginning of this committee. Probably my term must be up next year or some, I don't recall exactly how long these things go on for. My background is in technology, software in particular, worked in, with a lot of digital librarians. And as I was retiring, pretty much fully retired now, I was looking for a way to sort of keep a foot in, so to speak. So that's why I'm here.
So where's
Gil, do you want to go? Oh, Gail.
Yeah.
there she is, but I guess she can't talk. Can you talk?
We just have to unmute her.
Oh, you have to unmute.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
Hi. My brain is going to. I'm Gail Grasso, and I guess I've been here about a year now, right, Henry? I don't know. Time passes. Welcome, Braden.
Good to meet you.
Thanks, Gail. And Gil.
Hi, yeah, I'm Gil Pruitt. I was a mainframe software engineer at numerous places, businesses in the city, and consultant. And I'm a big fan of the library, and I'm here because I want to find out what's going on with the finances.
Thanks, Gil. I'm Henry Bankett, Assistant Library and Recreation Director / City Librarian. I've been with San Rafael for 6 years. I live in San Rafael. Thank you so much, Braden, for agreeing to serve on this committee. And Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Andrade-Wax. I'm the Library and Recreation Director for the City of San Rafael, and I've been with the city for just over 3.5 years. Welcome.
Awesome. And Jinder is taking the minutes. Why don't you introduce yourself, Jinder?
Hey, welcome, committee member Young. My name is Jinder. I've been with the city for over 15 years. I'm the administrative analyst. Nice to meet you.
Good to meet everybody.
Thanks, Jinder. So for this meeting, we have election of chair and vice chair, but Phyllis will be acting chair until that time. I invite you, Phyllis, to call us to order.
Can we vote first and then somebody else can take over?
Well, can we do that? We need to call the roll, and you're supposed to read that part in red.
Okay. Jinder, can you call roll?
Yes, committee member Grasso.
She's still muted. But she's there.
Here. Jesus, I'm sorry. I got a cold in my ears too, I guess.
Committee Member Kellogg.
Present.
Committee Member Pruitt.
Here.
Committee Member Young.
Here.
Acting Chair Brinkeroff.
Here. Hey, Ginger, I guess, I don't know if it's like always and no one's listening, but you have to explain how the public can listen or participate.
Yes, exactly. Good evening, everyone. Viewers are welcome to provide public comment online through Zoom or by telephone at 253-215-8782. And the meeting ID is 856-2315-5922#. If you are watching the meeting on Zoom and wish to provide public comment, please select the raise hand feature either on the bottom of your screen or through the participants icon. If you are participating by telephone and wish to provide public comments, please press *9 when the chair opens the public comment period. When it is your turn to speak, you will be notified that the host is inviting you to participate. You will need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Once you are unmuted, you will have 3 minutes to provide your comments.
Are there any amendments to the evening's agenda? I guess not, so we need to approve the minutes. Does anybody have any questions about the minutes? Did everybody read the minutes? So any motion to approve the minutes then from last time, which was June 24th? No motion to approve?
Well, I would move so, but I wasn't present, so I'm not sure I'm eligible.
Well, I guess there were only 3 of us.
Okay.
No, you are. It's okay on the minutes.
Okay. There we go. I guess only 3 of us there, and I think that.
Okay, so it seems like Committee Member Kellogg motioned to approve and Committee Member Grasso seconded.
Okay.
Yes.
That works in the rules. That's great.
So do we have we have any public here, Ginger? I guess.
No, we do not have any attendees.
So no comments. We already introduced the new members.
So we need to call the roll on the approval of the minutes.
Committee Member Grasso.
Approved.
Committee Member Kellogg.
I abstain.
Committee Member Pruitt.
Yes.
Committee Member Young.
I should probably abstain too, since I wasn't there.
Acting Chair Brinkeroff.
Are we approving the minutes then?
Yes.
Approve.
Thank you.
So we've already introduced the new members, so now I guess we're just going to the review of the 4th quarter of fiscal year 2020-2021.
Yes, seeing no public at the meeting, we're going to skip that part. And can you confirm that, Jinder? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and yeah, sorry, we've already introduced Braden, but introduced new members has taken place. So item 4, I'm gonna give a presentation on the 4th quarter annual revenue and expenditure budget report. So I'm gonna give a PowerPoint and go over in detail, and then I will share my screen also with the budget spreadsheet for the discussion or questions afterwards. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Got it.
Awesome. So this is the fiscal year 2021 fourth quarter library budget report. So the entire fiscal year 2021 has been expended. It's over. It ended June 30th of 2021. So quarterly, the Special Library Parcel Tax Committee reviews the library's budget expenditures. It's been a little bit uneven this year due to COVID, but this is the fourth quarter, and the end of the year shows the full expenditure for the previous year to prepare the committee to submit a report to council at the last meeting of the fiscal year if possible. But if we don't make that deadline, it's not required per se, but that's what we're shooting for. So this report provides the year-to-date figures on the general fund and the parcel tax spending for the fourth quarter of fiscal year 2021. We've expended 91% of our funding for that fiscal year that ended in June. General fund was 99% expended and parcel tax 72%. The parcel tax expenditure was lower as we were trying to spend more of the general fund for this fiscal year, in the understanding that when we don't spend parcel tax money, it rolls over to the next year and we have it to spend in the future. The general fund provides approximately 70% of operating expenditures, which is roughly $3 million of a $4 million budget. The parcel tax is about 29%, roughly a little over 1 million of the $4+ million budget. The Friends of the Library provide about 1% of operating expenditures. Revenue for the general fund was estimated to be around 18,000, and what we only received around 10,000. This is dependent upon money that we receive from the California State Library and from NorthNet, our local state consortium. And we haven't in this year received very much at all of fines revenue, which used to be significant, but we've gotten rid of daily fines. The Friends total contribution was estimated to be 23,710, but was actually 24,310, which includes pledged amount, which we will discuss later. And the parcel tax revenue was estimated to be about $1,092,000 and change, was slightly less due to continuing parcel tax exemptions, which is part of the measure that people 65 and over living in their own home can file for an exemption from the roughly $59 per parcel tax assessment. And as the tax goes on in the 9 years of its length, that number is always increasing pretty much. So it's a moving target how much we're actually gonna receive in terms of parcel tax revenue. Expenditure highlights for the general fund. Salaries and benefits, regular hire salaries and benefits were slightly lower as there were 3 vacancies frozen for that fiscal year that we sort of saved on as by not spending them out of the parcel tax or the general fund. Temp salaries were on target. Building maintenance was lower, but the funds were used elsewhere. Utilities, gas, and electricity were underspent as the building was closed for public traffic through most of last fiscal year, but it was open for curbside pickup. And contract services expenditures were on target at the end of the fiscal year, but they're always overspent in the beginning of the quarter because of the fiscal year, the first quarter, because we pay a lot of them fully for the entire year during the first quarter. Internal service charges were on target. Office supplies slightly underspent. Books underspent overspent as we were spending more out of general fund, as I mentioned earlier. Periodicals we didn't spend on because we eliminated them during the pandemic because there was no one in the library. And digital branch resources are underspent as we got less grant money in that area than we normally would get. Audio visual underspent due to a backlog in ordering. So we didn't order continuously during the fiscal year. So we had a lot of catch up to do at the end of the year. We didn't go to any travel and conferences, but we did spend more in this area because we were asked to spend more by finance in the general fund. And we had less dues, professional dues and subscriptions because no staff were as actively involved in going to conferences, which actually means that, you know, a lot of times we pay our dues for professional organizations because it makes conference attendance less. And the California Library Conference, California Library Association Conference was virtual this year and very few people attended. And we had fewer credit card transactions. So those fees, that was totally underspent. As far as the parcel tax is concerned, administrative fees from the county were underspent. Contract services were not budgeted, but the funds were approved to pay for the new library conceptual design project. And this was taken out of the capital set aside, roughly $70,000+. And that means the parcel tax fund balance increased slightly by the amount of that $71,953. We can discuss more at the end. Programming supplies were underspent due to a reduction in in-person programming. Books were underspent in Measure D parcel tax as we were trying to spend down the general fund budget. And you'll see from the budget spreadsheet that in many categories, we have funds in both the general fund and the parcel tax. And in some, it's one or the other. And again, periodicals we saved on from the parcel tax. We also have periodicals in the general fund that we spent for other things. Digital branch resources were underspent as we were spending from the general fund for these, for that resource. Technology supplies were underspent in that we were being very conservative, that a lot of this money goes to support 3D printing and some of our virtual reality work that we weren't doing much of while we were closed during this fiscal year. And just to remind you, we were closed and during curbside for 11 out of 12 months of the fiscal year we're discussing. And again, in the Measure D parcel tax, training and instruction expenditures were underspent as we had less training opportunities that we had to actually pay for versus a plethora of free training that was offered virtually throughout the entire country, so we could take advantage of trainings in other states and throughout the state of California as well, but we didn't really have a huge bill for that. This concludes my presentation. I'm gonna stop sharing and bring up the spreadsheet for clarity, if that's okay.
Can I?
Yeah.
Hello.
Go.
Can I ask a question, Henry?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but expenditure highlights, item 3, building maintenance and contracts, etc. Okay, I just want to know, the funds were used elsewhere. Are we supposed to inquire as to where elsewhere means, where it went? That's the only time I saw that in there, and everything looks fine. I just didn't know if we're supposed to ask about that for bottom line issues. I'm sorry.
Which slide was that?
Okay, Item 3 of expenditure highlights, line 1, 2, 3, is an exceptional year where it was treated as a bottom line, but the funds were used elsewhere. Okay.
Is that for the general fund or parcel tax?
General fund.
General
okay.
fund.
So this committee doesn't have purview over the general fund, only the parcel tax part.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let me bring up the spreadsheet so we can see that. Sorry about the confusion. We usually go over both because they're interconnected. So this year was also a bottom line budget. So we're instructed by finance, because this was one of the most anomalous years and fiscal years that we could go outside of budget categories. So that's why that seems unusual, let's say. Can everyone see the spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a little hard.
Yeah, here we go.
It's easier to look at it from the download.
Okay. I'll just use that for my reference then. Or if you'd rather, I could just go back to not sharing my screen anymore.
If you share your screen, then you can highlight with your mouse areas that
Yes.
you might want to refer to.
Okay. So couple of things. You'll see contract services is in red. It's about halfway down.
Yep.
So that's the thing that the first quarter, we always overspend that. And because this was the fourth quarter, that was, you know, it evens out at the end of the year. So we were pretty much on target. Though we were also, generally that's a place where we're overspent. There was an item where the Friends contribution, which is, where's that listed?
On the bottom. Other budget services, is that where it is?
Yes, the $24,301.
Yes.
That we're going to adjust that number because it includes amounts that were pledged, but we haven't actually spent that during the fiscal year. So that number would be reduced to $10,501. Yes, and Phyllis pointed that out. As far as
we've already spent,
yeah,
we spent 11,000 so far this fiscal year.
Right, but this only reflects.
Right. Yeah. So that's what actual money out was only 10,500.
Yeah. So we're gonna have to adjust that. And there was some slight confusion over the $71,953 that we spent out of the parcel tax set aside. That was for the conceptual design project that happened partly during this fiscal year, but we also paid the rest of that bill in the current fiscal year. And that came out of the Measure D parcel tax capital set aside.
The Measure C.
Well, yes, the capital set aside from Measure C, you're correct. So is there any questions about that capital set aside in general? Let me give a little background for the new member of the committee. When Measure C was passed in 2010, in the beginning, there was a capital set aside that was created from extra money that came in apart from library operations and building improvements. And it was capped at about 500,000, I think. And then when Measure D succeeded Measure C in 2017, it became official. There was no capital set aside per se that was part of the Measure D function. It wasn't continually added to like Measure C. And Measure D also didn't include a proviso for building improvements. So they both are for library operations.
Got it. Thank you.
And Measure D is for 9 years with a cost of living increase built in. So every year, if the cost of living goes up above 3%, it can increase by the cost of living up to 3%. And that is usually, we figure that around April, is it correct, Ginger, or May? And that sets the price, the actual amount for the next year's assessment.
Yes, once the CPI is posted around May. Yes, exactly.
Awesome. So I think the biggest thing that you will see different in this spreadsheet, you'll notice the previous fiscal year is in purple, and the current year is that we're talking about is in lime green. Is in regular hire salaries and benefits, we had 3 positions that were frozen, so that number dropped by about 600-ish thousand, maybe 5 to 6-ish. So that those positions have been unfrozen during this fiscal year. It was mainly though out of Measure the general fund and not the parcel tax. The parcel tax didn't drop hardly at all during that period. So I'm going to stop sharing. Yeah.
Henry, I would just ask politely, could you just point out with your marker, the one that you said with the lime green, because I don't see that color and I can't find what you're speaking of.
Oh, sorry.
On the general fund.
Yeah, my
the columns labeled FY21 are in lime green. When they're labeled
yes.
FY20, they're in purple.
Yeah, my cursor. This is not in Excel, so it's a PDF, so I can't like highlight a cell, but okay. It's like this. Can you see my little hand moving?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the columns that are lighter are the what I'm referring to as lime green. So they show this year compared to last, because we had a request previously to show the current year and the previous year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the center part is the parcel tax.
The center.
The center of the spreadsheet is the parcel tax piece. The left side is general fund, and the right side is both combined. And then at the bottom are the totals across all categories with a number at the extreme right bottom of both combined and what percent compared to 100 we were able to spend. So we were 91% expended. You'll see in that bottom right cell.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, other things to see in the bottom left, the orange square shows our very generous contributions from people who made memorial contributions to the library. That total, more than $3 million, including some the fund balance from both parcel taxes, and the set aside. So that's there just for the information of the committee, though you don't have purview over those funds per se, except for the set aside and the capital set aside and the fund balance. So questions from the committee?
Not really a question, but in the parcel tax section, maybe you should explain why there's that 71,953 that's in red. That was the one that went from one fund to the other and got me really confused.
Yes. The 71,000 is being paid to Nolan Tam for the conceptual design process at Albert Park for the Albert Park Community Center and Library conceptual design that the council asked us to do. The money will be taken out of the capital set aside, but it's showing in contract services in a similar way that a previous study was paid out of. So I think that paid out of that line. The best way to explain it is finance is going to move the money, had moved the money around. Is that correct, Ginger?
Yes, that's reflected currently on this spreadsheet where it says the set aside and the fund balance. It's already reflected in those numbers.
So it's actually the capital set aside was reduced by that 71,953.
Exactly. Now it's showing 281, 382. Yes.
And that is part of the orange box on the left. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth line up from the bottom. MC parcel tax capital set aside balance.
Right.
And it being a study for a building is a capital cost, so we can spend it out of the capital set aside, but it's shown in the contractual services line for the parcel tax measure because it was a contract with an architect, namely Nolan Tam Architects.
Henry, is our fiscal calendar year?
The fiscal year from July 1st through June 30th. So these funds reflect funding from that ended June 30th, 2021. Yeah.
Got it.
I stopped sharing the spreadsheet now.
And as a clarification question, the bottom left, the orange chart where people make donations based like usually parcel taxes and memorial funds, are those annual? Or I know that's not this committee, but I'm just kind of wondering.
Those are current balances.
Those are the current balances.
Current balances, got it.
Yeah, they're not invested in risky funds where we get like a lot of interest, only the tiniest amount. Government, this came up before. Government, we're not allowed to kind of roll the dice with the money.
No,
but yeah.
No Tesla stock.
Yeah. So no, this has been asked before, and we had to ask finance.
It's all crypto. Nice.
Yeah. So, but it does give us the ability for potential for matching funds if we get grants, and to have a sort of beginning of funds looking at a new downtown library or new library facilities in San Rafael in general.
Got it.
And we're in debt to immigration services. Is that how I read that? $3 in debt?
That's a grant. The New Americans grant program. We got grant money from, could be the state library for the previous fiscal year. We did a program where we sort of helped people navigate the roadmap of immigration with sort of workshops at the Albora Community Center, where we would kind of, as a group, guide people through the process. So I can only think that
we spent $3 more.
There's a slight misalignment of fund expenditure that went into the negative there. It wasn't that a large amount of money. It was probably 50,000-ish. So yeah, and it mainly paid for staffing of that program. So good call though.
Do you expect that grant to be renewed?
No, that's over. Yeah, that has an interesting history. It started out with I think before the previous administration, it was meant to be more of a partnership with DOJ to have staff certified as being able to kind of help new immigrants in 2 out of the 3 steps towards becoming citizens, but that didn't really work out, and they kind of with the previous administration kind of did a pivot towards helping them with the first step, if that makes any sense. And our staff didn't become accredited by DOJ because it didn't actually happen, and it was more what staff could do. Specific 2 staff members were trained to kind of just help them navigate the paperwork to get to where they did need a DOJ person to help them. But yeah, that's over. I haven't heard any re-upping of that opportunity, and it was kind of built around a local nonprofit where they sort of went away also. So though it was an awesome partnership while it lasted, the infrastructure for it I don't think exists anymore. And we would have heard, we were also copying what Marin County Free Library was doing. They also had people involved, but I can find out more. I haven't heard anything about it though.
I don't get
it. Just to reiterate what I sent all of you the last year's report in a PDF format. If you need it in Word, I can also put that together. Just to remind you that what usually happens around this time is the committee decides who's going to work on the report, and then something gets drafted and you all will sort of approve it at your next meeting, and I'll get your signature and we'll be ready to kind of put it along with a staff report from city staff to go to the last council meeting of the year. I know it's November, but we should probably be able to meet sometime in mid-December before everyone goes away just to finalize this, or maybe a little earlier, like maybe the first week of December. Is anyone have concerns about that, or should we talk about that at a next meeting? Phyllis has experience with this, so she knows the drill. And Gil and Greg were part of this. I don't think Gail has been through it yet, have you? No. Okay. So what I would propose is I'll try to do another doodle for another meeting, and in that interim time, someone will have to be working with each other from this committee on drafting the final report.
In line with the report, I know it didn't matter much last year, but we do need the percentage of the library to the general fund budget. Right. That is something we need to compare, even though I'm sure it's not going to meet it, but that was understandable.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the math will work out this year, but yes, I could get you that. Any other questions on the review, the fourth quarter budget report?
So you're changing that Friends to 10,501?
Yes, we will make that correction. Thank you. And with that, we could move to the next, the chair. If you're ready, we could move to the next item, and that's the selection of chair and vice chair, Phyllis.
Yeah.
And we still don't have any attendees, so we're good.
Okay.
Sorry.
So does anybody want to nominate somebody to be the chair? Or I will nominate somebody. Does anybody want to nominate? I nominate Greg. And for vice chair, I nominate Gail.
Can you explain what's involved in that, if anything other than these meetings?
You know, just the meetings and conducting the meeting, I guess. You may be considered to be a lead person to write the report. But
that hasn't always been the case. Peter and I wrote it one year, and neither of us, I think.
You and I wrote it another year, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's usually two people. So do we have any?
I don't want to do this.
Any comments from the nominees?
Phyllis, I think you've been chair from the beginning, haven't you? So you've been chair for about 4 years. Is that right?
Yeah, since this Measure D began, and I was for part of Measure C as well.
And would you want to continue as chair?
No. I think they've changed something, and I can't anyway.
Oh, really?
I think there's a limit, right? Like 2 terms of 2 years, and it's been 4 years already, so I think that does it.
Can I ask, is there anybody more senior than me who hasn't done either of these jobs? I don't feel very knowledgeable about writing a report. I know you can help me, but is there somebody who's been omitted, who's absent, that we can nominate?
Greg pointed out that being vice chair doesn't mean that you have to write the report per se, because he and Gil?
Peter
wrote it when neither of them were chair or vice chair. So, you know.
Right. So Braden could do it. See, he's willing.
Absolutely. Give it to the new guy.
Yeah.
Well, the current and previous reports serve as a great template for.
Yeah, happy to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So do I hear then that Greg and Braden are the slate?
Perfect.
So what we need separate nominations for the chair and then a nomination for the vice chair. Once we have the chair, we'll take a vote. And then once that's decided, then we need the nomination for the vice chair.
Okay.
So it sounds like on the floor, we have a nomination for Greg to be chair. So Phyllis, can you ask if there's any others or discussion?
Any others? Anyone want to nominate someone else? I mean, maybe Gil wants to do it or be vice chair. No.
No.
Okay. So all approved with Greg being the next chair?
Approved.
Yes.
Jinder, can you roll?
Who seconded the motion?
I don't know.
I second it.
Okay, Committee Member Young? Okay.
Sure.
All right, I will take roll. Committee Member Grasso?
Approved.
Committee Member Kellogg?
I approve.
Committee Member Pruitt?
Approve.
Committee Member Young?
Approve.
Acting Chair Brinkroff?
Yes.
Okay.
So now, Phyllis, if you could ask for any nominations for vice chair?
Would someone like to nominate somebody for vice chair? We have 2 choices. Anybody nominating Braden?
I nominate Braden.
I'll second that.
Okay, Phyllis, can you ask if there's any discussion or another motion? Nomination?
Any discussion or other nomination? No, so I guess we should take the vote. Jinder?
Okay, so who's going to motion and then second on that?
So I think Gil nominated. I think he was the first motion, and Greg, did you second it?
I seconded it, yes.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Okay, committee member Grasso.
Approved.
Committee member Kellogg.
Approved.
Committee member Pruitt.
Approved.
Committee member Young.
Approved.
Acting Chair Brinkeroff.
But that means that Braden is now the vice chair. So Gil, want to take over?
I think it's.
I guess I take over now if I'm the chair.
Yep.
I guess my first act will be to thank Phyllis for her excellent service and look forward to her continued great service as a committee member.
Hooray. Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you.
So, next item.
So that concludes the items. So what I would propose is that you'll all be hearing from me for the schedule of the next meeting, and I'll reach out to the chair and vice chair directly about the report. Sound good?
Okay.
Sounds great. Good to meet everybody.
So one thing on the report, I think the people who are going to write the report should not only have the last report, but the prior to, because it is important to make sure that the proportionality is maintained in general. I mean, it did not last year and will probably not this year. But that in the beginning, it was a measure, it was a concern between the city and this group.
Yeah, we have a chart that shows kind of the way that's changed over the years, which I can provide, as well as more than a couple of years of reports. I think I have like 10-ish. But yes, that's a good point, Phyllis. Thank you. And the chair and vice chair, I'll make sure they have that info. It's all in the public domain, but you would have to go hunting for it. And I have it in a very specific place that I can share it with you. Prepare you for this report writing, which, you know, it's not going to take that much time. And then it'll be brought back for the next meeting to be approved by all of you, and I'll have to get your signature either virtually or in person. So yeah, thanks everybody. Does the chair want to say anything else?
Well, I'm happy to serve and look forward to working with all of you for another year.
It's at least 2.
Oh, is it a 2-year term?
It's a 3-year.
I'm not sure how long my term on the committee goes for.
Yeah, we normally do a new chair and vice chair yearly, or we're supposed to. So we're trying to get back into the cycle.
Right.
But yeah. And I guess the chair's job is to sort of close the meeting officially.
Okay, if no one else has anything to say, then I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jinder.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.